So let's start with the identity of the one who's going to support this coalition. He's called Gog. Gesenius, a Hebrew scholar, identified the words in verse 2 when it says chief prince with modern Russia. Actually, the Hebrew word is Rosh. We speak of Jewish holidays, Rosh Hashanah. Hashanah, the year, first of the year. Rosh means chief, first, head. It is associated with the word Meshech. He decided that phonetically it connects with Moscow. The word Tubal connects with Tobelisk. He saw in the Hebrew words the phonetic equivalents of these modern names in the Russian language. The problem grammatically, which Bible teachers have, is whether the Hebrew word Rosh is a noun or an adjective. Forgive me for making it perhaps more simple than Bible teachers want it to be, but that is the issue. Is Rosh an adjective or is it a noun? Most scholars believe it's a noun, and they teach that. That means they would read about Gog that he is the prince of Rosh. Rosh would not be modifying prince, but in their view, the text would say prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. The King James translation can be traced back to Jerome's Latin Vulgate, which treats the Hebrew word Rosh as an adjective, modifying the word prince. Now, the normal Hebrew and Arabic grammar would support the word Rosh, however, as a noun. In fact, to my knowledge, and it may be limited, that's for sure, but to my knowledge, there is no example in all of Hebrew of treating it as an adjective. The term Rosh is a place name found 3 times in the Septuagint, 10 times in Sargon's inscriptions, and once in Ashurbanipal's cylinder, and once in Sennacherib's annals, and 5 times in Ugaritic tablets. You say, what do I care? Well, there's going to be a test before you can get out of here and go home. Now, many scholars have identified Gog and Magog with the ancient Scythians, who are mentioned in Colossians chapter 3, verse 11. They are apparently the ancestors of much of present-day Russia. That is believed by Russia herself, or at least the former Soviet republics. Flavius Josephus, I've studied his works quite a bit. I hope you will too. He says of the Scythians, they delight in murdering people and are little better than wild beasts, nevertheless think it their duty to uphold their national customs. Tertullian, the church historian, said of the Scythians that it as a custom among certain tribes of Scythians for every deceased member to be eaten by his relatives. Quite a ferocious people. The man who compiled the Latin Vulgate, Jerome, said that Magog refers to Scythian nations, fierce and innumerable, who live beyond the Caucasus and the lake Mokotis and near the Caspian Sea. The great Greek historian Herodotus said Scythia is the territory north of the Black Sea. Now, I want to, after telling you that, just take a look at 3 connections here. We have, first of all, what we would call a biblical connection. Gog is mentioned, and you might want to jot it down in your notes, 11 times in the Bible. 9 of those references are in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Interestingly, 1 Chronicles 5:4 lists the name as a descendant of Reuben. It could possibly be someone else, obviously. In Genesis chapter 10, verse 2, we read the names Gomer, Magog, Tubal, and Meshach as the sons of Japheth. Noah had 3 sons. Togarmah is one of the sons of Gomer. They're all connected biblically. But we also have a geographical connection because it identifies him as being in the land of Magog. Ezekiel 38:6 that we just read speaks of the north quarters. Ezekiel 39 verse 2 speaks of the north parts. Magog is listed 5 times in the Bible. Originally a son of Japheth, but Magog is connected to the ancient Scythians both by past records as well as modern information. The land of Magog, however, was never Russia. It was the area immediately south of Russia, the area that the Russians are doing their best to take over at the present time. They covered the area primarily between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, and a little bit to the south. It appears, looking at the geographical matter, that it connects with several former southern Soviet republics, like Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan and Tajikistan, and even the northern part of Afghanistan, which is back in the news. Now, we also have a political connection here, because in chapter 38, verse 2, the King James translators preferred using Rosh as an adjective, so they called it chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. If it's a noun, they read it prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. For a moment, let's take a look at that. Meshach is found 8 times in the Bible and is also called a son of Japheth. But he's also listed as a son of Shem in 1 Chronicles 1:17. And interestingly, he's the brother of Elam, which is Iran today. He's also the brother of Asher, which is Iraq of today. Both Tubal and Meshach are listed as merchants in Ezekiel 27:13. Tubal is found 8 times in the Bible, and it's interesting to me to note that Tubal and Meshach are listed among those nations whose graves are seen as a result of God's judgment.